Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful concept called systems thinking. It's an idea from Peter Senge that's all about making one simple but, really difficult shift in how we see things. It's about learning to see the whole forest, not just a bunch of individual trees.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever had this happen? You come up with what you think is a brilliant plan, you put it into motion, and somehow it just makes things worse. Why does that happen?
It happens all the time, right? We think we've solved an issue in one department, and suddenly a brand new one just pops up somewhere totally different. Or, we fix a quick bug in the code, but without realizing it, we've just created a huge long-term flaw in the whole system.
And that's how we get stuck. We just end up putting out one fire after another, constantly reacting, but never actually getting to the root of the issue. It really feels like you're trapped, just running on a hamster wheel. But what if I told you there's a way out of that cycle?
So, that feeling of being stuck on the hamster wheel, well, we're going to call that the trap of seeing parts. Let's really dive into why we get caught in this super frustrating loop in the first place.
Okay, so the core idea here might sound a little weird at first. Those recurring issues, the fires we're always putting out, believe it or not, they aren't the real problem. The real problem, the actual issue, is our perspective. It's how we're looking at things. Most of us have been taught to zoom way in, to break things down and focus on one tiny piece at a time. But when we do that, we completely miss the bigger picture that it's all a part of. So, if our old way of seeing things is the trap, then we need a new way to see, a way to get out of the trap. And that, right there, is the whole power of systems thinking. So what is systems thinking exactly? Well, you can think of it as a discipline. It's about training yourself to see the whole system first before you look at the individual parts. It's a huge shift in focus, away from just looking at static things and towards seeing the dynamic relationships between all those things. And if you're going to remember one thing, it's this phrase from Peter Senge. It really says it all, seeing the whole, not the parts. It's all about learning to zoom out and see how everything, and I mean everything, is connected. Now, to really get a feel for this shift, let's put systems thinking head-to-head with how we usually operate, what we'll call linear thinking. This is where you can really see just how different it is. Okay, check this out. On one side, you have linear thinking. It hones in on a broken part, it asks, okay, whose fault is this? And then it just slaps a quick fix on it. But systems thinking, it asks totally different questions. It asks, how are all these things connected? It's not looking for blame, it's looking for patterns to figure out the deep structure that's causing the problem to begin with. Linear thinking is basically a straight line. A causes B, end of story. We did this, so that happened. It's simple, it's direct, and honestly, it's often just plain wrong because it's incomplete. Systems thinking, on the other hand, sees reality for what it usually is, this big, messy, complex web. Sure, A might influence B, but then B loops right back around and influences A too. And C and D and everything else are connected in ways we probably don't even notice at first. Okay, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's talk about why this all matters by moving away from the concepts and looking at a concrete example. So let's picture a company dealing with all these things. The typical linear approach is to chop these problems up. HR gets morale, the PMs get deadlines, customer service gets the complaints, and so on. Each problem gets its own little silo and its own separate solution. But what happens when we put on our systems thinking glasses? We start to ask a very different question. Are these really 4 different problems? Or could they actually be 4 symptoms of one single underlying issue within the system? And that is the big payoff here. Instead of playing an endless, frustrating game of whack-a-mole with the symptoms, this way of thinking lets you dig down and find the 1 or 2 key places where you can make a change that actually resolves all of those issues at once. You stop patching things and you start truly solving them. So really, the bottom line is this. You just can't understand a system by taking it apart and looking at the pieces. I mean, a car is way more than just a pile of metal and plastic, right? A team is more than a list of names. The real magic, the way the system actually behaves, comes from the interactions between the parts. You have to see it all working together. So the last question is really for you to think about. Look at your own work, your own team, maybe even your life. Where are you treating symptoms like they're the whole problem?
Where are you so focused on the individual pieces that you might be missing that web of connections that holds it all together? Because at the end of the day, the most powerful move you can make isn't adopting some new tool or new process. It's about changing your own perspective, learning how to shift from seeing a bunch of separate, messy problems to seeing the elegant, hidden system that connects them all.